It's been a long lead up to this, but the Xbox Series is finally here, which means we have officially entered the next generation of Xbox. Yeah, the excitement surrounding the Series X is through the roof, and Xbox has been making all of the right moves leading into the next generation of gaming. They have done a brilliant job with backwards compatibility, Xbox Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, and they've acquired several studios for more and better first-party exclusive titles. The big question now, though, is what about the launch window games? Well, unfortunately, Halo Infinite did get delayed with no official release date, which does hurt, but even then there are still plenty of great games to look forward to. So today we're going to take a look at the top 12 best Xbox Series launch window games. These are all games planned to release over the first 6 or so months of the Xbox Series lifecycle. Now, I try to stick with games that at least have a release window, and as always, this is only my opinion, but other than that, let's get right into the list. And at the number 12 spot, I have the Xbox console exclusive Call of the Sea, a gorgeous first-person puzzle game set in 1930. Yeah, seriously, this game's visuals look absolutely stunning with vibrant colors popping off the screen. It also has 4K resolution and 60 frames per second according to the Xbox website. But it's not just the visuals that's interesting, it's the actual gameplay that seems so engrossing. You play as a woman on the trail of her missing husband's expedition and will need to solve the mysteries of the island around her in order to find out what truly happened. So if you like puzzle games with a fascinating premise, then Call of the Sea might be a good option. As a bonus, it also apparently is being planned for Xbox Game Pass. So this next one really took me aback, but I think 12 Minutes could be a big surprise hit for the Xbox Series X. 12 Minutes has a truly gripping narrative based off of its trailers with an all-star cast where you play in a top-down perspective of a man with his pregnant wife. The entire game seems to take place in this one apartment, but the catch is, this man is stuck in a 12-minute loop. And very early on, you see how things can and will go wrong as his wife is murdered. Now every 12 minutes you restart the loop, which allows you to find a way to prevent this from happening. Of course, more problems will arise in these circumstances though, and while the game may take place in a 12-minute loop, it apparently will take roughly 6 to 8 hours to complete. Yeah, on paper, it sounds absolutely fantastic, and I don't think you should sleep on this one. This could end up being a great game. Bright Memory Infinite is a game that really stands out for the Xbox Series X. Pretty much since it first got announced, it has quietly been one of the best gameplay showcases for next-generation platforms, with not only stellar-looking graphics using Unreal Engine, but it also has interesting gameplay mechanics that mixes in first-person shooting with hack-and-slash elements. What's crazy is that this game was made by just one person. That is just mind-blowing. Now with that said, Bright Memory Infinite will be releasing sometime in 2021, but if you want to play the original first chapter, Bright Memory, it will be a day one launch title. Infinite will follow up shortly after in 2021. Now, if you're looking for something a little more AAA with a big open world, Far Cry 6 is right around the corner. Far Cry has always been one of the better open world franchises, and they often have great stories as well, but the thing that's really interesting about Far Cry 6 is the inclusion of Giancarlo Esposito, the actor most well known for his role in Breaking Bad, Gus Fring. That should have a lot of fans excited, and we know he can play a great villain. And Far Cry really is no stranger of having enticing villains such as Voss from Far Cry 3, but this may be on a whole new level here. The story just really looks interesting so far, and while we do need to see the gameplay, I think that this franchise overall is more than deserving of being one of the most anticipated games for the Xbox Series X. Next up, I have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and this game did not have a great first impression. It didn't exactly look next generation when they first showed it, but since then, it seems to have gotten a pretty major upgrade, and it now looks very good visually. It's really a night and day difference from its original reveal, but that would mean nothing if the gameplay wasn't good as well. Luckily though, Valhalla appears to be another strong entry for the Assassin's Creed franchise, and it's more brutal than ever before thanks to its setting of following the Vikings. Now, it does look a little bit more similar to Odyssey than some of the other entries in the franchise, but if you like that rich RPG gameplay, then Valhalla might be a great launch game to pick up. Now here's one that I think is going a little bit under the radar as of this moment, but Balan Wonderworld looks superb. This is an action 3D platformer, and if you think that the art design kind of resembles Sonic games, well, there might be a reason for that. See, actually Balan Wonderworld is a game created by the original Sonic creators, and Square Enix is giving them a chance to prove they can make a 3D action platformer like this. Well, from what I've seen so far, it looks amazing, and that's because of how creative it is. Not only does it have a charming art style to it, but because you have so many abilities to play around with by changing costumes, it really opens up the game into endless possibilities. It's certainly not going to get stale anytime soon with all of these different costumes. With that said, if you like 3D platformers as I do, you might want to pay attention to Balan Wonderworld. It's no secret that Call of Duty is a huge franchise, and it's really been one of the biggest since the launch of Call of Duty 4 back on the Xbox 360. This is in large part because of its fast and frantic competitive multiplayer, and after all of these years, that hasn't changed at all. It still remains as one of the best multiplayer games in the entire industry. But that's the thing, Call of Duty Cold War is meant to be the full package. Not only does it offer a great multiplayer experience, but they're also aiming to bring you a compelling single-player campaign. As a bonus, Cold War will also be 4K resolution and 120 frames per second. Yeah, that's right, if you have a TV capable of 120 Hz, you'll be able to play Cold War in an incredibly smooth experience of 120 frames per second. YAKUZA Like a Dragon was a big surprise announcement for Xbox fans. See, YAKUZA has pretty much been a PlayStation-only franchise until recent years, but somehow, Xbox got YAKUZA 7 as a next-generation timed exclusive for the Xbox Series X. Now, even though Xbox fans are probably not as aware of this franchise, you need to do yourself a favor and start paying attention. These games have some of the best overall stories in all of gaming, hands down. So if you like story-driven games, then YAKUZA 7 absolutely needs to be on your radar. If you haven't played this franchise though, no worries. You can jump into YAKUZA 7 as if it was the first installment, and it does have an English dub this time around. It's also a bit different than past entries because it has a turn-based combat system rather than its usual brawler style. But as usual, it has a rich Japanese environment to explore and an engaging story with some goofiness thrown in. I know some people can be a little hesitant on horror-type games, but the medium really stands out to me. It kind of reminds me of the old Resident Evil and Silent Hills games. It has that same fixed camera angle, but what has me really interested is in how you play in two separate dimensions at once. This is something that you really don't see in other games, but it has a lot of potential for clever gameplay mechanics and puzzles. I would even say it's innovative in how it all works, and that's something I really don't get to say in video games that much anymore. And because you can play in two different dimensions at once, I imagine it's only capable of running on next-generation hardware. This does seem like an original idea though, and that alone has me very interested. It also sounds like they're trying to develop an enthralling story. So I do like Resident Evil a lot, and I think that the medium has the potential to turn out to be another classic within the genre, just like Resident Evil. While Halo was unfortunately delayed, Gears will be launching side by side with the Xbox Series and the tactical RPG, Gears Tactics. Now before I say anything, keep in mind that Gears 5 will also be getting a nice visual upgrade as well for the launch of the Xbox Series. But I can actually say that Gears Tactics is a great game. It did launch on PC earlier this year, and it does the franchise justice. Gears feels perfect with turn-based combat. It can be brutally challenging at times, which I enjoy personally. You're going to have to actually strategize and figure out how to beat your opponent with smart positioning and use of your different abilities. So that's great for fans of this genre, but it's also very fast-paced. They really emphasize being aggressive, which fits well with the Gears franchise. Of course, you need to balance out this aggression with carefully thought-out strategy, but again, the combination of Gears and tactical turn-based gameplay truly is a perfect combination. Resident Evil has had a big generation with huge games like Resident Evil 7, 2, and 3. Yeah, Capcom is back in a big way, but it doesn't look like Capcom is ready to slow down at all. Resident Evil 8 will be coming to the Xbox Series X in early 2021. Now this game does look a bit different than previous games in the franchise, and you even have a werewolf-like creature hunting you down this time. Yeah, that sounds even more terrifying than zombies. I imagine they're going to be a little bit more ferocious, and because it's a werewolf, I'm curious if it will have a good sense of smell or even hearing. Yeah, again, that sounds pretty spooky. It's also a first-person game in the same vein as Resident Evil 7. In fact, you do play as the same character from 7, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. While many fans do prefer the third-person Resident Evil games, I thought Resident Evil 7 was a fantastic game in its own right, and hopefully, Capcom continues their hot streak with the 8th installment. And the number 1 spot goes to Cyberpunk 2077. This game is absolutely insane from what I've seen. It's got a huge open world that actually looks interesting to explore, and I can't stress enough on how important that actually is. A lot of the times in these big open world games, they almost feel empty in a way. What I mean by that is they're just not fun to explore, but Cyberpunk on the other hand gives you a sense that they really put a lot of thought into the city and what it would be like in a future setting. You can also see how much care and devotion they put into every aspect of this game. Of course it has an atmospheric world, but it also looks like it's going to be a good RPG with an engaging story. The vehicles look great and the combat even looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of a futuristic Grand Theft Auto with RPG elements, and that's quite the comparison. GTA, of course, is one of the most successful franchises ever made, but Cyberpunk looks like it may be right up there in terms of quality. Well, the good news is that when Cyberpunk 2077 releases on November 19th, it will look and play best on the Xbox Series X and takes advantage of Xbox Smart Delivery technology. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.